Well, we finally got rid of that Chelsea supporter, and thank goodness, because he was getting a little big for his head. This is Red Card Radio. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever you're listening from. Thanks for tuning in. Red Card Radio is a weekly look at the Premier League from three friends who support different clubs. Tonight's three different set of friends. My name is James. I support Arsenal. Down below that's Sean. He supports Tottenham. And with us tonight is Jimmy. He supports Liverpool. Hello. Good day. What's up?
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
Doing well. Jimmy, I think we cooked up a fun podcast for you tonight.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a good one.
Speaking of getting big-headed, I mean, we're talking most titles in English history right now.
Yeah. My head is 20 times bigger than it was before.
And that which is one more times than Manchester United.
So. Now we're even. It's 2020.
It's even now.
Now. But you could argue we're back on our perch.
Yeah. You could argue that. Before we dig too deep, if you could hit that subscribe button, ring the sub notification bell if you're on YouTube. If you're on one of the podcast sites, hit it with follow, 5-star review, whatever your platform so allows. Hit the share button, send it to your buddies and your friends. All those things help us out tremendously. And without further ado, let's jump in. So a bit of housekeeping. The final game of the European League season, or the European calendar of club football, I should say, was the Champions League final. And it turned out to be an exciting snooze fest to a degree.
It was entertaining,
yes.
But it was boring and
not competitive.
Kind of, yeah.
Not competitive. If you were an Inter Milan fan, like that one guy who showed up at the airport to meet the team afterwards, I don't know if you guys saw that report. It was a bad day because PSG beat Inter 5-0. PSG win their first Champions League. Maybe... I don't know what your guys' takeaway from this is holistically, but my takeaway is that I think it's very funny that PSG have won it now that Messi and Neymar and Mbappe have moved on.
Yep. That's what I had mentioned to both of you guys. I was hoping they would win it now that all their superstars are gone, which is, I think hilarious. But it's also the blessing of Munich, right? That's the history. Every time there's a Champions League final in Munich, there's a new winner. First time winner.
Really?
Well, written in the stars.
As Brad would say, written in the stars. Yeah.
Yes. I think this is also, like 5 in a row.
Wow.
It was the year of the birds and the year of long time no winners or big droughts or first time winners.
Yeah.
Because we had Tottenham, we had Newcastle, we had Palace, we had Liverpool on the bird theme, we had Harry Kane getting his first trophy. We had PSG getting their first Champions League. We had a lot of firsts and long times.
It just had to sneak
Harry
Kane in
Aberdeen. I think Aberdeen won.
Aberdeen,
for the first time in forever.
Had a lot of just crazy winners.
I don't know. You had a serial winner.
Napoli.
Serial winner in Ange Postecoglou. He won, so that's not an aberration.
That's true.
He always wins in his second season, mate.
In his own proclamation, he wins things in his second year. He didn't say crap about the third.
Well, he did say that the third season of all the best TV shows, the third season's always better than the second one.
Yeah, and it's probably one of the most successful relegation battles in the history of the league.
Yeah, and this sitcom, in your reference, James, this sitcom's about to get canceled. Yes. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, next week.
We'll probably have news on that here in a couple weeks. Also, humorously, Inzaghi has left Inter, and it's not because it's not because he got fired. He has elected to leave the club, probably because I think Saudi Arabia backed a Scrooge McDuck amount of gold coins to him, so he could swim in them in his swimming pool, like Scrooge McDuck would in DuckTales. Yep. If all of my millennial friends get that reference. They backed up a truckload of money, and so it seems like he's on his way to Saudi Arabia. So they pay a lot for players, pay a lot to coaches apparently. So good for him.
Financial fair play doesn't reach to the over that way. They don't reach over there.
Well, I
guess they're not technically.
They're not. They're in Asia, so different set of rules. I'm sure that there are some financial regulations in Asian football. I'd imagine so. I doubt there's any financial regulations in Saudi Arabian football, but I think it's probably because the state controls all the teams anyway, right?
Yeah. Or like when China was trying to buy all that talent, and like I'm pretty sure Oscar is still playing, like in some type of like Space Jam, like Mars cartoon, like workshop. When he has that like theme park where you can go watch, and he just wanted to like enslave all the NBA players, just like have them just play for show.
Yeah.
Like I feel like Oscar's probably still over there playing for show.
Yeah.
Because I haven't heard of him. I haven't heard of a peep from him since he went to China.
So. Yeah.
It's like, I forgot he existed until about a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So since you're here, Jimmy, let's give you the floor. Give us your take about Liverpool. How do the season's officially over. 1 trophy out of 4. So, only a 25% success rate for Liverpool this season. So,
you still, I think I think Sean can agree. 1 trophy is probably good enough.
I don't know. I think it could be better.
I think it could be better. I mean, in the hindsight of the whole thing, right? So losing out in the domestic leagues hurts a little bit. Because again, those are you win the league, you think you should make it to the final or whatever and be successful. Now we did make a final and we lost to Newcastle.
Yep.
And we were, I remember the game. We were thoroughly outplayed, and it was in a period of time where we kind of went down a little bit, and we were getting eliminated from everything.
In your defense, Newcastle actually absolutely shellacked us in the semifinal of that competition as well. So Newcastle were good value in the Carabao Cup this year.
They were kind of at the time kind of peaking a little bit, and then they kind of fell off a little bit, but they got it back together towards the end of the season. And then again, like the Champions League, we lost to PSG. And again, they outplayed us. And there were aspects of their team and the way they managed the game that just we couldn't cope with. And they have some good young midfield talent that really good. I mean, I really, really like Vitinha as a player.
Well, let's be honest. You guys lost that tie because of a 17-foot tall goalkeeper, Italian goalkeeper.
We did,
who is in the form of his life.
But at the same time, though, the first leg, we barely even challenged them.
Yeah, that's true.
They completely dominated us. But yes, we had plenty of opportunities in the second leg, and then we just couldn't do anything with it. But that happens, right?
It's football. Yeah.
I mean, it's football. So
am I remembering right? Was that the tie that they had like 17 shots on goal, no goal, and you guys had like 2 shots on goal, and 1 goal, and you won 1-0?
Yeah, something like that. I think they. Actually, no, I don't remember the final. I think the first leg was 1-0, and I think the second leg was.
That's what I was remembering. That
1-0 extra time.
They thoroughly dominated you, and you guys won 1-0. And like there was a lot of memes about it because they had like a bajillion shots. You guys had like 2, and you scored one of them. 1-0.
Yeah. So, it is what it is. I mean, you tip your hat to PSG, and they were the best team in Europe this year. Obviously, we know that now. And I think their results and their performances speak to that. So congratulations to PSG. I can't say much about it. They were the better team this year. I mean, I'm still very happy with our season. I think winning the league was awesome. It is hilarious how bad we were after we won the league because just no one cared anymore.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, am I upset about that? Not really, because those games didn't matter.
They did the George Bush meme where they rolled up the mission accomplished sign, and they stopped caring.
And so from my perspective I'm like, yeah, you guys start your summer vacation a little early this year. Don't get hurt, anyone.
Yep.
Like, so, I was actually kind of hoping we would see more. I was hoping we would see a little bit more youth play and a more squad rotation. And we did see some of that, but I was kind of hoping to see more of it.
Yeah.
And get some other kids some opportunities to get some meaningful minutes at the real, top flight pace versus the summer tour.
And the thing about that is that those kids would come into those matches incentivized to play really well and to maximize their output in those matches. You know,
because in those cases, it's like, well, maybe we don't need to go spend 140 million pounds on Wirtz from Leverkusen. Yes, we do, but maybe there's another option there in the squad for replacement elsewhere.
Did John Henry just hand you a cue card to say that maybe we don't need to spend 140 million pounds?
Yeah, he's on speed dial.
Yeah,
I can personally vouch for purchases made from Leverkusen that they typically work out. So, I don't know if you guys remember, but a little guy named Heung-min Son we bought from Leverkusen. So
yeah, he was an all right player.
The most influential Spurs player in the last 20 years.
Worked out okay.
Yeah.
All right, Jimmy. So
kind of speaking about transfers, what do you now? Obviously, Liverpool have already been active in the window,
which is nice.
Yeah, which is interesting. But I guess we have a weird transfer window this season because it opened June 1st and is going through June 10th for the Club World Cup. So teams can make moves right now. And then it's going to close again during the Club World Cup and then open again July 1st like it normally does.
Yeah.
But Liverpool have already been active and there's a lot of rumors going around. So what do you want to see Liverpool get done? What are maybe some areas that you think Liverpool need to reinforce at?
So coming into the transfer window, I think everybody kind of knew Trent was gone.
Yep.
That's been rumored for quite a while now. So replacing him was always a priority. We've done that.
Yep.
Now, bringing in a new attacking midfield player, that was not on my bingo card for this year. I didn't think we really needed that, but awesome. If we can sign Wirtz.
Now, awesome. In your grand scheme of how you guys play, is that to replace Gakpo?
No, because I think
to move Gakpo out to.
So
left.
I think Gakpo is still a left wing player. I think this is more of he is an alternative.
Move on from Diaz, replace Gakpo in the middle, put Gakpo back on the left like he's supposed to.
So I think there's a couple of ways you can go with this. One, it's depth in the midfield where Szoboszlai now provides the depth versus another player. So in that role, Szoboszlai maybe takes a back seat, or you have some more flexibility with rotation with Szoboszlai and McAllister. You've cleared room now, though, for other depth like Harvey Elliott to leave. Diaz is still kind of reportedly going out the door. Who knows? But Gakpo is the position. That's his position. So you most likely take him there. Now, I think most all Liverpool people are ready to say goodbye to Darwin Nunez and replace him. Now, Wirtz can also act as a false nine. So there's an opportunity there for him to be maybe the next Roberto Firmino. And you change the dynamic up a little bit, depending on if we go after another. Because we've also been linked to other strikers. We've been, linked to Isak for a while, even though I don't think he's coming. I think he's staying at Newcastle.
I think
and then
the hot one right now is Etikite.
Yes, he's the other one.
Yeah.
But we're battling with like a bunch of clubs with him, and I don't know that we'll get him or not. But and again, I'm still really interested to see how much cash that FSG will actually spend in this transfer window, because already we're significant.
Yeah,
but there's some rumor that Luis Diaz might be going to Saudi for 85 million. So that could be a big. And Darwin also he was rumored in January or January to go to Saudi, but the transfer didn't complete in time. So, that's potentially enough money to pay for Wirtz right there with those two players. And then the business is looking good. Then we've already made we have the richest free transfer in the history of the league, with getting actually $10 million for a free transfer for Trent, which is pretty cool. And then we've sold Kelleher to Brentford now. And that was, I think, 10 to 18 million. I can't remember what all the incentives are. So I still think we need a left back. So I think Kostas Tsimikas is going. He probably his time to go. Andy Roberts can hang around a little bit longer. We need a long-term replacement for him. and then a striker. We need another real striker again.
The interesting thing I've kind of this striker market is very volatile this summer because a lot of teams are in for a center forward, and there is some talk, especially around Isak, is that if he doesn't sign another contract at Newcastle, he seems to be much more gettable next summer. And so there is some talk because Arsenal were also in for Isak. Arteta is a big admirer of Isak, and the problem is that we can't wait for next summer. We can't wait another year to sign a center forward. And so that's where I think Liverpool become a likely destination for Isak if he were to leave Newcastle. And he might not.
I don't know that he will. Now that they've got Champions League football, I don't think there's really much of a reason for him to leave.
Yeah.
I did have this pulled up because I wanted to mention it. Your fellow brethren in Liverpool and Arms, our good friend Tammy, there was a post that says Eintracht know how to sell strikers. Sebastian Haller for 50 million, Jovic for 63, Andre Silva 23, Muani to PSG for 95, Marmouche for 75, and then Etikite asking price 85. So his big umbrage is the 85. Not that he's not worth it, just that 85 is too much. And he replies to this tweet and says, "There is not one success in this list. Stay away at LFC." Haller, Jovic, Silva, Muani, Marmouche, not one success in there. Don't go for it.
And we had Haller after he was sold into the English Premier League. We bought him at Dortmund.
Yeah.
And we kept him for like 2 seasons, and he was not good. Now, granted, in his defense, he got cancer.
That is a big defense.
So
that's a big defense.
Mentally, that is a huge deal, and then physically, that's a big deal too. So having to come back and even be remotely competitive, and he did well at times at Dortmund. So it's a big testament to his fortitude, but unfortunately, he didn't really work out long term.
Okay. I think that's about what we had planned for Liverpool. Now the interesting aspect of this podcast, Sean, why don't you tell us about this? Yeah, you tee us up for this because this was kind of your brainchild a little bit.
All right, so a little top down. I won't get. I kind of over-explained it earlier. I'll go top down real quick. There's a little thing called the soccer tournament TST going on starting Thursday this week, starting tomorrow, and it's a 7-on-7 tournament. There's a running clock, 20-minute-and-a-half game. They've got something called the Elam ending, which basically means that at the end of full time, there is a target goal to win, to end the game. So every game ends on a goal, so it makes it a little bit more exciting. And that target goal is leading team +1. So, for example, the game is 3-2 at the end of full time. Target goal score to win the game is 4. So the trailing team needs to score 2 before the other team scores 1. Anyways, so a lot of clubs are sending teams contingents from Dortmund to Bournemouth to West Ham to Club America to Cagliari, and like a lot of teams are Wrexham. A lot of teams are sending contingents to go play in this. There is a big prize pool at the end of this. It's 7-on-7 with a shortened field, so it's not quite an indoor field. It's not nearly as big as an outdoor field. Somewhere in the middle.
It's a 77 field.
Yeah,
effectively.
77.
For people.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit wider than what you'd see at a youth field, but the length is about the same.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and it looks like a good time. I've seen clips of it from last year. Looks like a good time. Some people are just, a lot of celebrities are out there just having fun. So James, I present this in the pre-production to James. Obviously, spin it. We are in the content creating business.
That's what I do.
Okay. Go ahead and pick your 7 aside.
So yeah.
From the EPL.
So what we kind of decided is let's look at this a couple ways. Let's pick a 7 aside from the EPL. Let's each come up with our own 24-25 EPL 7-a-side that we would come up with. So, and then we also took it another step forward, and we also created a 7-a-side from our club. So I have an Arsenal 7-a-side all time.
Now this is all time.
Yeah, current players, former players, and I will say for my Arsenal 7-a-side, they are all players that I saw play. So
awesome. Same for me.
Mine are too.
Yeah.
Actually, I think mine are too.
For my 2024-25 EPL 7, in goal, I have the Golden Glove winner, David Raya.
Okay. Oh my God. All right. Okay.
And there is a reason why I picked Raya. Center. I have one defender. It's a center back. It's Saliba. I have a reason specifically for picking Saliba. In midfield, I have Caicedo and Anthony Robinson. And then in attack, I have Semenyo, Isak, and Salah. So let me break down my thought process here with this. I want a goalkeeper. I want a passing goalkeeper. I want a ball-playing goalkeeper. That I think is the most important attribute the goalkeeper can have in this. Is because
I also went that route.
Because now we have actual 7 outfielders. Because my goalkeeper is going to be out there. You put and then my thought process with someone like Anthony Robinson is that he is a defender, but he's also a creator. I think you could also put someone like Trent Alexander-Arnold in this role would be really effective. Caicedo for me, I think he had like the most tackles in the league this year. In terms of, and so from center midfield, putting him in there, and then Robinson will kind of slot next to him at certain points. Saliba can carry the ball forward from defense. He's actually a pretty impressive dribbler and he controls the ball very well for a center back. Semenyo, so my thought process was Semenyo, Isak, and Salah. Salah's Mohamed Salah. Everyone knows him. You know what you get with him. Semenyo and Isak can create opportunities from almost nothing. I think they have an uncanny ability to pick up a ball anywhere and they can take a shot. I'm throwing things real quick. That's how excited I am about this team. But I think that these players have pace. I think that they are technically very savvy. I think that technicality on the ball is important. The ability to pass the ball well, but then also work rate. And you need players in this who are willing to attack and defend. And I think all 6 of these outfield players are able to contribute on all facets of play.
Yeah. So you touched on, again, one of the things I think we all agree on, and that is the goalkeeper needs to be a technical player. And I'm assuming I'm sure y'all can guess who my goalkeeper is. And it's Allison.
Yeah.
Obviously, because I actually think he is the best player as a goalkeeper in the English Premier League with his feet. Better than Raya, better than Ederson, better than Martinez, who I think is overrated. But
he is.
Yeah. So he is a no-brainer for me for EPL goalkeeper. Now, one thing that I was going to hold off, and James, I know you know this about me, but I'm not sure if Sean does.
Okay.
When this was first proposed to me, I was like, I wonder if these guys know that my entire life has been 7v7 soccer for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
So my kids have been through 7v7 soccer for the years now. And so I'm just now finishing it. I'm done with 7v7. But I have had a lot of time to think tactically about how 7v7 football should be played.
That's what my son, I coached 7-a-side this last season with my eldest son. I got another season with him, and then my younger son comes into that. So
what's had me stuck is, and Sean, you had alluded to this a little bit in the pre-production meeting, was formations.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of different things you can do with 7v7 formations and different personnel that you can use based on the formation chosen. So I actually put together, and I started this and I kind of abandoned this. I actually put together a bench.
Wow.
In case I needed to make a tactical adjustment.
Okay. All right. You asked the guy to come on as a guest, and he comes prepared. This is a consummate professional.
I think we gave Jimmy 6 hours to prepare for this podcast.
And I've been on this. I can't.
It sounds like it was 5.5 hours too much.
Yeah. I was talking about it with a coworker and all kinds of stuff. He has no idea anything about soccer. So So I'll kind of start with mine. So formation wise, I've started this as a formation that I wish my kids would have played, but my club is so incompetent they can't figure this out. So our club typically plays 3 in the back, 1 in the middle, and 2 up front. And I will tell you guys, at U10 and below, there's not that many kids that can play a single midfield position by themselves on the field.
Yeah.
There's not that many kids that are that athletic, strong enough, fast enough. They're out there, but there's not that many. And this is speaking from a dad whose son plays in that position. And I know for a fact he can't do it by himself.
Yeah.
So I'm going with a formation I think is better suited, which is a 2 in the back, 1 kind of pivot player as a defensive mid kind of that can cover, 2 wide players, and a floating striker that can also act as a false 9. And I've seen how this can work depending on what the team brings against you. So who I have in the back for my EPL squad is I do have Trent at right back. And I have a toss-up, and I actually think I'm going Lewis Hall at left back from Newcastle.
Interesting. Okay.
I actually debated with Anthony Robertson, and I think they're both pretty even. I think personally I like Lewis Hall just a little bit better.
Yeah.
I don't think Andrew Robertson is good enough to fill the role. He's a good player, but just based on these two, they've been better. I haven't considered Cucurella, but I think Lewis Hall is better.
Agreed.
So Trent, those are my 2 backs. And I mentioned in pre-production, I had a controversial one for you guys.
Okay.
My midfield position is Rodri.
Okay.
Who was hurt the entire season.
I would still accept it.
Controversial.
But he is the person I would put in that position. My bench player to fill in is Casado. So in front of him, and then my wide players, wide on the right, I have Mo. So Slaw's on the right, and up my left side player. This was the hardest one for me to choose, and I actually went with Saka.
Oh, okay.
I think Saka I know he usually plays inverted, but I think he's got left back experience in playing from a wide position. I actually think he's technical enough, quick enough to do well in a 7-a-side game. He's an attacking player, but also has a little bit more depth. I think it would be an interesting take to put him up there in that front left position.
Well, he has played attacking on the left wing, like for Arsenal.
So I've only seen him play like left back and up front and right.
When he played left back, he then slowly started moving up the field, and so he played left back for a little while. When other left backs got healthy, he started playing left wing. And then Arteta really has because Arteta is really interested in inverted wingers.
I thought about putting Anthony Gordon up there. I don't like him in 7-a-side. I think he's got talent, but he is not I don't think he would be a good 7v7 choice. And then I just didn't really like. I mean, Diaz is good. Again, I think I have the same problem. I think Saka is just a little bit more technical, more of the technical player that I would want in that side. And then up front is kind of also the tougher one too. And I have Isak up front. Now that is with the impression that I want that player to play up front.
Yes.
And I want him to be a striker. Now, if I get into where I need to make a tactical adjustment, okay? So if I take a lead and I want to change it to where I'm a little bit more defensive and I want to go to 3 in the back, maybe 2 in the middle and 1 up front, my bench consists of essentially 3 players.
Okay.
Caicedo is another kind of defensive midfielder. Odegaard is who I would replace. Odegaard is who I would replace Isak with. So I put him in as my kind of false 9 position to have more of an attacking midfield, so he can drop deeper and still affect offensive play. I think I think he would fit well in that role. And then I have Verge. So if I want to bring in a strong central back, if I need to go defensive, I would sub him in and make a tactical change.
Okay. All right, Sean, what's your EPL 7-a-side?
So funny enough, me and Jimmy went with we arrived at the same formation. I took it a different way than him. So when I approached building this team, I wanted a little bit of structure, but I wanted and then similar to you, James, I wanted all the players to be able to create on their own, and be good with the ball at their feet because there's not a lot of space. There's way less space than a traditional field. So you need to be able with the ball at your feet, be comfortable with the ball at your feet, and be able to create if you need to. So I actually started with Ederson at the back.
Interesting.
I thought one of you would choose him.
Those are kind of like
he is extremely good with the ball at his feet. Is he the best goalkeeper in the league? No, but with the ball at his feet, he might take that thing 110 yards down the field.
He would be my second choice.
Yeah, but you don't. Yeah. The reason why I stayed away from Ederson is because you don't need him to kick it that far. You need him to be.
It's not about kicking far. He could take the ball 110 yards to the other side.
You mean on his feet?
Let him.
You mean on his feet?
Yes.
He could dribble it.
Yeah, he'll just dribble it. Yeah, he's dribbling it, not kicking it. And then, so because I'm going to structure my defense a little bit differently, I actually picked Van de Ven to be the central guy because he is so quick across the back.
Did you take him primarily for speed?
For speed, and he is really good with the ball at his feet. I trust him with the ball at his feet. But it's mostly speed,
like recovery pace.
So that, and then my other quote unquote center back can play more forward when we have the ball, and then can drop back. And that one is, this is one of the shocks that you guys are going to have. That is Ben White. He is an extremely versatile player who is really good with the ball at his feet, and can play center back and can play forward. And make really good passes.
I should have worn my.
I think you're going to struggle with I think you're going to struggle with your formation on 7-a-side.
Nope, no, I'm not. Because in front of them, just as assurance, is a complete box to box, who is also good with the ball at his feet. That is Tonali, who can play defensive, can play forward, can play complete box to box, and a good pivot. And in front of him, in front of Tonali, I have Salah on the right. This is the one that I texted.
I texted
the group.
Yeah.
Yes. If that's the one I said, if we all don't have at least one player in common, you guys didn't take this exercise seriously because there's no other better player to put in this exercise. On the left, when it comes to creating, I don't know anybody better in the league than Trossard.
Whoa.
Trossard is amazing. So
I got feelings about that.
He will create something out of nothing, and he reacts quickly. He is really adaptable. The ball takes an awkward skip, doesn't matter to him. He'll figure it out. And then in the middle, James's favorite boy, my adaptable striker, is going to be James Vardy.
Oh. His face.
I actually considered him, but I don't.
He's a great one. He's a good one. Like, the dude just figures out a way to get his foot through the ball towards the goal. That's it, whatever angle, doesn't matter the service. It doesn't matter. He's going to strike the ball at the goal in some way or another.
I agree with you in that sense, but I don't think he's when your premise is I want players who can create out of nothing. I'm not sure that was Jamie Vardy's game. Ever. His game was generally
he runs onto the ball.
Yeah,
he's a runner, and you can't really run on the ball at 7-a-side.
Yeah, so I think that's a miss. I
think
when you
have Salah and Trossard on the wings, he doesn't need to. He can just kind of find the pockets, find the space.
That's why I went with an Isak.
Yeah,
who's a little bit more of a target player.
Yeah.
All right. Hey,
I
think I'm winning.
I think you're losing because you set yourself up to be horribly counterattacked by my team. Because you're too narrow.
No. I got Van de Ven back there. You're not getting away with anything. The great eraser is in the back.
I think I definitely take all three of my front three over Van de Ven.
Yeah, I don't know. You're telling me Van de Ven's going to keep up with Semenyo, Isak, and Salah for my team? I don't think so.
Absolutely.
I don't think so.
I mean, Ben White's coming with a hammer.
We're
going to leave it to
that's true. That is true.
We're going to leave it to the red card radio loyalist, right? They're going to choose whose team's going to win.
Maybe.
Yeah. So Team James is David Raya, William Saliba, Caicedo, Anthony Robinson, Semenyo, Isak, and Salah. Team Jimmy,
Allison, Lewis Hall, Trent, Rodri, healthy Rodri, assuming.
Yeah.
Isak, Saka, and Salah.
And then Team Sean
is going to be Ederson, Van de Ven, Ben White, Tonali, Trossard, Vardy, Salah.
And now, remember, I have the only bench for tactical adjustments, unlike the other two.
Well, it was my exercise, and I didn't realize I needed to take it that far, so I apologize.
I actually really thought about, instead of Vardy, I thought about Eze. Eze would have been.
I think Eze would have been better.
Yeah, I think
Eze's a really good creator. When I looked at the goals scored on the year, and he had only scored 6, I was like, well, maybe he's not as good of a creator as I think he is, because otherwise he would have scored more goals.
Was that for all competitions or just EPL?
Just EPL. Yeah.
I'm curious to hear what you guys do for your team, for your clubs. A 7-a-side. Like who are you picking for the Tottenham all-time 7-a-side, Sean?
So Tottenham, I feel like, you picked me first because this one's, I think, fairly easy. It didn't take me more than 2 minutes to figure this out. It's Lloris in the back.
Agreed.
It's Jan Vertonghen, and I actually switched it up. I was going to go with Alderweireld because both of those center backs are extremely versatile and can go forward.
I thought it was for sure Eric Dyer.
It's going to be. I did switch it up from Alderweireld to Kyle Walker. So Kyle Walker is really great.
That's a good choice.
I switched up the formation, so I'm gonna run a 2-2-2 in this 7-on-7. So I'm gonna go Modric and Dembele, for 2 different reasons, obviously, and then Kane and Bale up top. So that was pretty up top, but yeah, they'll move.
I also don't like the 2-2-2 formation in 7.
I don't love it. I don't like it. But
I don't think it can work.
It
can work.
Yeah. I think
it depends on how you do it.
Yeah. You got to manipulate where your two.
So are you playing literally a 2-2-2, or are you going to play a 2-1-1-2?
Yeah, it's really a 2-1-1-2. Is really
okay. That can work, but you're going to have to realize you are going to be very narrow. So if your front 2 are lazy and can't force the ball to the middle of the field, you're screwed.
Yeah, nothing lazy about Harry Kane.
Know that from experience.
Nothing lazy about Harry Kane.
So I'm gonna do my Arsenal one next. I think I have definitely one that I think I will trip you guys up on that you wouldn't expect. David Raya is the most technically gifted Arsenal goalkeeper that has ever been. He's not necessarily the best Arsenal goalkeeper that has ever been. David Seaman, Jens Lehmann, all.
I was about to say he's going with Seaman.
Amazing goalkeepers. But I'm taking David Raya because of my desire to have a ball-playing goalkeeper. I'm still taking William Saliba because he's also the most technically gifted center back we've ever had. There was thoughts of like Tony Adams as like a punisher. Thoughts of like Koscielny was always a really solid center back, but I don't think that they get to Saliba's level in terms of his ability to control the ball. The midfield. So I'm doing one defender in both of my setups because my goalkeeper is going to be sitting next to him in possession. And then my midfield, I have an interesting. Obviously, I have Patrick Vieira in the middle of the park.
Saw that coming.
But sitting next to him, Abu Diaby. Now, I think this is an interesting pick because he was never healthy. But when he was Yaya Toure. He was one of the best box-to-box midfielders that Arsenal's had in a long time. He was strong. He was fast. His ability to control the ball and pass the ball. He would go on these long runs with the ball. And so I think pairing him next to Patrick Vieira, I think is I have a very dynamic and fluid moving midfield. Sitting in front of them, I debated between 2 players sitting in front of that midfield. I want a creative midfielder in that position. I think my best 3 options were Aaron Ramsey, Cesc Fabregas, and Mesut Ozil. And I went with Cesc because
I would have choose Cesc as well.
Mesut doesn't work hard enough. Ozil is not gonna do enough in a 7-a-side game. He is just a 10. Fabregas is going to create and he's going to defend. Aaron Ramsey is less creative than. I also thought about someone like a Jack Wilshere there, But again,
I thought that's who you're going to use.
Not as creative, I think, as Fabregas, obviously. And then it's a no-brainer for attacking players for Arsenal. It's Thierry Henry and Dennis Bergkamp. Like, yeah. And so this is the point I was making to you, Sean. I think if you gave Dennis Bergkamp a month and a half, he could play in the Premier League today. Like prime Dennis Bergkamp. If you froze prime Dennis Bergkamp, his skill set and his ability on the ball, what he can do with the football is translatable to the modern game without question. And so like while he retired in 2006, almost 20 years ago, he would still thrive at the same level that he did in the late 90s and the early thousands in today's game, in my opinion.
That's interesting. I mean, Cesc Fabregas, I think, is a good choice. That's who I would have chosen. I don't know if I wouldn't have taken Declan Rice as the other defensive midfield position.
I thought about Rice. He's obviously a tremendous player. And I think I defaulted to Diaby because I wanted a curveball a little bit. And I think that the true Arsenal fans, people who have followed Arsenal for at least the last 20 years, would see that pick and recognize it for my thought process at least. So I'm curious to hear the Liverpool, because I think there could be some spicy picks for Liverpool.
So I don't think it's as spicy as you might think, because again, this is like this is a tough one where there's a lot of good players throughout the history of the club, and we talk kind of and James Hughes alluded to it, like the nature of the game now versus then, and the athleticism and whatever else. I mean, there's like absolute legends throughout all of Liverpool's time, and again, like a lot of them that I never saw play. Kevin Keegan. Like I don't really know much about him, but he was a Liverpool legend. Guinea Dog Leash, right? Another legend. I know him as a manager. I never saw him as a player.
Yeah.
Right. Ian Rush is another good example. John Barnes, another good example.
John Joe Shelby.
So John Joe Shelby, absolute bald legend. He would fit perfectly into the team right now. So I stick with the same formation. I also have a bench, again.
Tremendous.
For adjustments, because I think there's some things we can go with, and I've got like player and whatever trying to decide which between the two. But again, I have Allison in the back as the goalkeeper. I think he is just I think he's the best goalkeeper we've ever had. He is amazing with his feet, and there's not that many goalkeepers that I can remember at Liverpool that were really that good with their feet. He's just the best. We've had okay, but he's just really good. Left back. So okay, right, same formation, 2-1-2-1, with kind of 2-1-2-1. Right back, Trent. Still Trent, even though on his way out, still kind of a part of the team this year.
Still get to claim him.
Yep. Left back. I went back and forth on this one because there's a lot of choices here. Actually went with Risa.
Oh, okay.
I like him, just fast, not that technical.
But he adds a bit of physicality to your team.
He has a bit of physicality. He has a little bit more. He has a good shot.
I was going to say.
An outside, a defensive back in a 7v7 game, again, on a smaller field. These guys are going to be able to shoot the ball from midfield freely.
Yes.
Easily.
He's got a cannon.
My 10-year-olds can shoot the ball from behind half field, right? Yeah. So I think that's a solid option. Now, my center midfield position, that's sitting back in the pivot position, I went back and forth on this one quite a bit. And I ultimately settled with Gerrard. Again, that's kind of a little fanboyish. I debated on McAllister. I debated on Hammond, or however you said his name, from back in the early 2000s or whatever. is a good Mascherano. I could debate it on. It's like there's some good wins in there, but I went with Gerrard. Right side, Salah.
Yep.
It's a no-brainer.
Yep.
Left side, Suarez.
Yeah. Okay.
Luis Suarez on the left side. Debated on that one too, and I also debated him on the middle, but I went with someone else in the middle.
Peter Crouch.
I went with Roberto Firmino in the middle, because Roberto Firmino fits that role already that I want, where he can be a striker but can drop deep as an attacking kind of midfield position. And so I think that is I think that's the player. And I have a bias for Firmino. He's one of my favorite Liverpool players of all time, and I think he fits that role. He's super technical, very creative, and that's what we get a lot of with those front three. Very creative players. Steven Gerrard again is kind of an aggressor, but he can distribute the ball pretty well. And then you got the two backs. Again, it's like a hockey game almost in a sense. You got your good defending shooters, circulating the ball, one of them going to rip.
Yeah.
And then my bench, again, based on how I want to, if I want a formation change, if I want to play defensive, I've got Verge on my bench again. I almost went with Sami Hyypiä, but I think Verge is overall a little bit better player. I have Mane on my bench.
Okay.
Because I like him as an option.
I can see that.
As a replacement for Suarez. Again, however, I want to move, I want something different. And then my other one that might be interesting is on my bench. I have Robbie Fowler.
Okay.
And he is if I want my Isak style striker, whatever, he is my guy up there that can just he's like the guy that kind of scores from anywhere. Now, again, I have him on my bench because I don't know how well he translates into the modern game, because he wasn't as fast of a player, not technical player, but he's just a goal scorer. And sometimes you just need a goal scorer. And so he's like my super sub.
Do you give any thought to someone like Daniel Sturridge?
No, not at all. I actually never liked Daniel Sturridge. I did not think he was very good.
Okay. All right.
I thought he was I did think he had a great season for us. I thought overall, the course of his career, he was a very, very much overrated player.
Okay.
I am surprised not to hear Fernando Torres.
No. Don't like Fernando Torres in 7-a-side. Again, he's a player that runs onto the ball. Is not as technical.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I would like to hear from you guys. First off, did you like our EPL 7-a-sides? What would you pick? Who would you put in your EPL 7-a-side? And then the club you support, what would your club's 7-a-side be? I think that would be really interesting. Put them in the comments. Put it on our Discord. We'd love to hear that. And yeah, I think that's all we got. We'll be back next week. I'm not sure what we're going to do next week. Maybe we'll make it up, and we'll be here. So you should be here too. Remember, hit that sub notification bell, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Hit us up on all the social medias. It's Team Dugan, right? Dude.
I think so. I don't ever check it, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Hit me up on Discord at Red Card Radio.
There you go. Sean is at @Whiteheart_Sean. I'm at James Tiffany. Brad will check at @RedCard_Radio. That's what Brad's going to check for us. And we'll be back next week. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it, Jimmy. Love having you as always. Appreciate you coming. And thanks for those bench comments.
I told you I was going to go all in.
You sure did. We'll be back next week. Have a good one.